The package arrived on a Thursday afternoon, just as the late spring sun was painting long shadows across our suburban Denver driveway. Madison's name was written across the shipping label in my mother's careful script, that distinctive cursive she'd perfected during her years as an elementary school teacher before Emily happened, before everything changed. I didn't think much of it at first. Just brought the box inside and set it on our kitchen island, right between the morning's half-empty coffee mugs and Madison's latest art project, a watercolor painting of horses that she'd been working on all week. The kitchen smelled like the banana bread I'd baked that morning, trying to make the house feel more like home and less like the fortress I'd been unconsciously building. Madison's eyes lit up when she saw the package. "Is that for me?" She still had grass stains on her knees from soccer practice and chocolate milk on her chin from her after-school snack. "Looks like it, sweetie, from Grandma and Grandpa." She practically vibrated with excitement. At 8, getting mail was still magical, that perfect age where a cardboard box held infinite possibilities. Ryan looked up from his laptop at the dining table where he'd been working from home. "Birthday present?" he asked, though we both knew her birthday had been 2 weeks ago. "Late one, I guess," I said, handing Madison the scissors to cut through the tape. Inside, wrapped in crisp white tissue paper folded with military precision, because that's how my mother did everything, was a dress. Madison lifted it out carefully, her small hands reverent. It was beautiful, I had to admit. Soft pink cotton with tiny silver stars embroidered along the hem cap sleeves and a Peter Pan collar. The kind of dress you'd see in an upscale children's boutique, not a department store. "It's so pretty." Madison twirled, holding the dress against herself. The afternoon light caught the silver thread, making the stars shimmer. "Very fancy," Ryan commented, already turning back to his screen. "Though knowing you, it'll have paint on it within a week." Madison giggled, still enchanted. She held the dress up higher, examining it from every angle. Then she stopped. Not gradually, not dramatically, she just froze, staring at the front of the dress with her forehead creased in confusion. "Mom," her voice had changed, gotten smaller. "What's this?" I moved around the island to see what she was looking at. And that's when everything inside me went cold. There, embroidered in white thread in that same perfect cursive position just above where her heart would be, asterisk, little Emily asterisk. My hands started shaking before my brain even fully processed what I was seeing. The kitchen suddenly felt too bright, too warm, the smell of banana bread nauseating. "Mommy." Madison's green eyes, my eyes not. Emily's blue ones searched my face. "Who's Emily?" The name hung in the air like a slap. We didn't talk about Emily in this house. Not because it was forbidden, but because there was nothing good to say. Did they make a mistake?" Madison asked, her voice uncertain now. "Did they think I was someone else?" Ryan had gotten up, was looking at the embroidery over Madison's shoulder. "That's strange. Maybe they meant to personalize it and the store got it wrong. But I knew better. This wasn't a mistake. The dress wasn't just similar to one I remembered, it was identical. Same shade of pink, same star pattern, same collar. They hadn't saved the original. They'd had a new one made. And then they'd put asterisk, her asterisk name on it. "Can I still wear it?" Madison asked hopefully. "Even with the wrong name?" "No." The word came out sharper than I intended. I took the dress from her gently but firmly. "You're not wearing this." "But Mom?" "No, Madison. I'm sorry, but no." I turned and walked to my bedroom, closing the door behind me with a soft click. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding the dress in my lap, my hands trembling so badly the fabric shook. I knew this dress. God, I knew this dress. The memory hit me like a physical blow. My 6th birthday party, the house full of relatives and my mother's teacher friends, pink streamers and a grocery store cake with my name in wobbly frosting. I'd worn my favorite dress, yellow with daisies, because I'd picked it out myself. But nobody wished me happy birthday. Nobody sang. Because Emily, 8 years old, and already the sun we all orbited around, had just gotten accepted into the Denver Youth Ballet Academy. She came floating down the stairs in her new recital dress, this dress pink with silver stars, and the entire room shifted toward her like flowers following light. Everyone clapped. Cameras flashed. My mother beamed like Emily had cured cancer instead of just learned to pirouette. I stood there in my yellow daisy dress, holding a juice box invisible. I'd walked up to my mother, eventually tugged on her sleeve. "It's my birthday," I'd whispered. She hadn't even looked down at me. Sarah, don't make this about you. I was 6 years old and it was about me. It was supposed to be about me. But I learned that day that it would never be about me, not as long as Emily existed. And now 26 years later, they'd sent that same dress to my daughter, with Emily's name on it. Like Madison was just another chance to do it over to get Emily back. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother asterisk. Did Madison like her gift? I had it specially made. The stars took forever to embroider asterisk. I stared at the message, fury building in my chest like pressure in a shaken bottle. She was proud of it. Proud of this calculated cruelty disguised as a gift. Another buzz. A photo this time. Emily at 8 wearing the original dress mid-twirl at that long-ago recital. The message underneath. Doesn't Madison look just like her asterisk? That's when something inside me finally snapped. Not broke, snapped into place like a bone being reset after years of being out of joint. I opened my banking app with steady fingers. No more shaking, no more doubt. Just cold, clear purpose. The grocery card reloads I'd been doing for 2 years canceled. The monthly transfer to help with their mortgage canceled. The prescription assistance I'd set up when Dad's insurance stopped covering his blood pressure medication canceled. One by one, I severed every financial tie that bound me to them. Each cancellation felt like cutting a rope that had been slowly strangling me. I folded the dress carefully, placed it back in its box. Then I went to my desk and wrote a note on the good stationery, the kind Madison used for thank you cards. Asterisk. You lost one daughter. I'm the one who stayed. You just never noticed. Don't contact me again. I'm not covering your debts anymore. If you want someone to bail you out, ask Emily. The next morning, I drove to their house while Madison was at school. The same split level in Wheat Ridge where I'd grown up, where Emily's dance trophies still lined the mantel, and her senior portrait still hung in the place of honor above the fireplace. The rosemary bush I'd planted for Mother's Day 15 years ago had grown wild, unpruned, and sprawling. I didn't ring the doorbell. Just left the box on the porch swing where we used to sit and shell peas in the summer. Then I drove away without looking back. The first call came while I was in line at the grocery store, then another while I was loading bags into my car. By the time I got home, I had 12 missed calls and 4 voicemails. I listened to one just to confirm what I already knew. My mother's voice shrill with indignation. What is this supposed to mean? You're returning a gift? A beautiful dress I had made specially. Do you have any idea how much that cost? My father in the background. Ask her about the banking thing. The transfers didn't come through. I deleted the rest without listening. At 3:47, just as I was getting ready to pick Madison up from school, I answered. I don't know why. Maybe because I wanted them to hear me say it. You're being cruel, my mother started without preamble. Returning a thoughtful gift, cutting us off without warning. The dress had Emily's name on it. Silence. Then, it's a family heirloom. I thought Madison would what pretend to be her finally give you the daughter you actually wanted? That's not fair. Emily is a thief who destroyed our credit and disappeared with $40,000 of our money. Or did you forget that part? She's still your sister. She was my sister. Now she's just someone who taught me that family will rob you blind and expect gratitude for the privilege. Sarah, you're being dramatic. We all make mistakes. Mistakes. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. She ran a fake business. She took out credit cards in my name. She convinced you to mortgage your house to invest in her fashion line that never existed. Those aren't mistakes, Mom. That's fraud. She's turning her life around. She's in therapy. Is she, or is that another story she's selling you? How can you be so heartless after everything we've done for you? Name one thing. My voice was steady, now calm. Name one time you chose me over her. One birthday that was actually about me. One achievement you celebrated that wasn't immediately overshadowed by something Emily did. Silence. I paid your bills for 5 years, I continued. I worked overtime to cover the debts she left you with. I put my own life on hold to clean up her mess. And you thank me by trying to turn my daughter into her replacement. We just thought. Madison looks so much like Emily. I know. You've mentioned it every visit for 8 years. But Madison isn't Emily. She's her own person. And I won't let you erase her the way you erased me. Sarah? I hung up. Then I blocked their numbers. Both of them. That evening over tacos, Madison's favorite, she asked about the dress. Kids don't forget things like that, even when you hope they will. Why did Grandma put someone else's name on my present? Ryan and I exchanged glances over the table. We'd agreed to be honest, but age-appropriate. Sometimes, I said carefully, people get stuck thinking about the past. They forget to see what's right in front of them. She considered this, chewing thoughtfully. Like when Tommy's dad calls him by his big brother's name. Kind of like that, yeah. That must feel bad, she said simply. To be called the wrong name. I reached over and smoothed her hair, dark like mine, not blonde like Emily's. It does feel bad. That's why we're always going to call you Madison, because that's who you are and you're perfect exactly as you are. She smiled satisfied and went back to her tacos. But I saw her later in her room looking at herself in the mirror. Just looking like she was making sure she was still herself. That's when I knew I'd made the right choice. 2 days later, a certified letter arrived. I had to sign for it, which should have been my first clue. Inside was a formal-looking document that essentially threatened legal action if I didn't resume financial support for my elderly parents in their time of need. I actually laughed. Really laughed for the first time in days. I took a photo of it and sent it to my friend who was a paralegal. Her response was immediate. This is nonsense. Save everything. Document all the money you've given them. They don't have a leg to stand on. But I knew they weren't really going to sue me. This was just another manipulation, another attempt to guilt me into compliance. The legal letterhead was probably downloaded from the internet. A week passed, then 2. The calls stopped, replaced by a different kind of invasion. Suddenly, relatives I hadn't heard from in years were reaching out. Your mother is heartbroken. Asterisk. Family is family, Sarah. Asterisk. Don't you think you're overreacting about a simple mistake? Asterisk. Your parents are struggling without your help. Asterisk. I responded to exactly none of them. Then came the Facebook post. My cousin screenshot it and sent it to me with a simple, "Thought you should see this." My mother had written a long, dramatic post about ungrateful children who abandon their parents over misunderstandings. How she'd spent weeks hand-selecting a beautiful gift for her granddaughter, only to have it thrown back in her face. How their daughter had cut them off without warning, leaving them unable to pay for groceries or medication. The comments were a mix of sympathy and skepticism. Some people bought the story wholesale. Others, particularly those who'd known our family longer, asked careful questions. Isn't Sarah the one who helped when you had that financial trouble a few years back? I thought Emily was back living with you. Why would Sarah cut you off over a dress? I didn't engage, didn't defend myself, didn't correct the narrative. I just watched as my mother's story began to unravel in real-time, comment by comment. Because here's what she didn't know. Small towns have long memories. People remembered Emily's fashion line. They remembered the GoFundMe my parents had shared, begging for help after she disappeared. They remembered me working doubles at the hospital, remembered seeing me at the grocery store, buying their prescriptions. The truth has a way of surfacing, especially when lies get too elaborate. The next explosion came 3 weeks later on a Tuesday evening. Madison was at gymnastics, Ryan was at a work dinner, and I was enjoying the rare quiet reading on the back deck with a glass of wine. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something instinct maybe made me pick up. Sarah. I knew that voice immediately, though I hadn't heard it in 5 years. My whole body went rigid. Emily. Hi. A pause. I heard you cut Mom and Dad off. No asterisk. How are you asterisk? No. I'm sorry asterisk. No explanation for 5 years of silence. Just straight to the point, like she'd been gone 5 minutes instead of 5 years. I did. That seems extreme. I took a sip of wine, letting the silence stretch. I'd learned that from her, actually, how powerful saying nothing could be. They're really struggling, she continued when I didn't respond. Mom's been crying for weeks. I'm sure she has. Look, I know things ended badly. Badly. I laughed, but it was sharp bitter. Emily, you committed identity theft. You destroyed my credit. You stole $40,000 and disappeared. I didn't steal it. It was an investment in a business that never existed. It existed, it just didn't work out the way I planned. No, Emily, I saw the investigation results. There was no business license, no inventory, no suppliers, just a website you paid someone on Fiverr to make and a bunch of fake invoices you created in Photoshop. Silence. Where are you? I asked. Does it matter? Are you back living with them? A longer pause. Temporarily. Of course you are. I rubbed my temple, feeling the familiar headache that always came with Emily-related stress. Let me guess, wherever you've been for 5 years didn't work out, so you came running back. And now you need money again. That's not, I'm trying to get back on my feet. Start over. Mom and Dad want to help, but with you cutting them off, they can't fund your fresh start. Sarah, they're our parents. No, Emily, they're your enablers. There's a difference. God, you always were jealous. And there it was. The accusation she'd been throwing at me since we were kids. The one that used to make me doubt myself, make me think maybe I was the problem. I was never jealous of you, Emily. I was jealous of the love you got, the attention, the forgiveness, the endless chances. But jealous of you. No, you're 35 years old, living in your childhood bedroom, still running the same cons you were pulling at 25. What exactly is there to be jealous of? I'm trying to change. No, you're not. You're trying to find a new mark. And since Mom and Dad are tapped out, you thought maybe you could work me instead. Play on my guilt, my sense of family obligation. The same buttons you've been pushing since we were kids. That's not true. They sent Madison a dress. The exact same dress you wore to that recital when I was 6, with your name embroidered on it. Silence. They're trying to turn my daughter into you, I continued. Because even after everything, the lies, the theft, the abandonment, you're still the daughter they want. You're still the only one who matters. Sarah. I'm done, Emily. With all of it. With you, with them, with pretending any of this is normal or okay. I've spent 32 years paying for the crime of not being you. I'm not doing it anymore. So you're just going to abandon them, leave them with nothing. I'm leaving them with exactly what they left me with you. I hung up before she could respond. Then I blocked that number too. The next morning, there was a car I didn't recognize in my driveway. I peeked through the curtains to see my parents sitting in their old Honda, my mother clutching what looked like a photo album. I didn't go outside. Instead, I called Ryan at work. They're here, I said simply. Want me to come home? No, I'm not answering the door. Good, stay strong, babe. You've got this. They sat out there for 2 hours. Eventually, my neighbor came over to ask if everything was okay. I watched from the window as my mother tried to explain, gesturing dramatically, probably spinning some tale of family estrangement and misunderstanding. My neighbor, bless her, just nodded politely and went back inside. She'd lived next door for 10 years. She'd seen me leave for the hospital at all hours, working extra shifts. She'd watched Madison when I had to handle yet another crisis with my parents. She knew. Finally, they left. But not before leaving the photo album on my porch. I waited until dark to retrieve it. Inside were pictures of Emily. Just Emily. Pages and pages of dance recitals, school plays, birthday parties. Emily in the pink star dress. Emily at graduation. Emily, Emily, Emily. And stuck in the very back like an afterthought was one photo of me. Age 7, missing my 2 front teeth, wearing a hand-me-down dress that had been Emily's. I wasn't even looking at the camera, I was looking at Emily, who stood in the foreground, radiant and oblivious. The metaphor was so perfect. It would have been funny if it wasn't my life. I kept that one photo and threw the rest in the recycling bin. Madison found me crying at the kitchen table that night, the photo in front of me. Mommy, she climbed into my lap, concerned. Are you sad? A little bit, baby. Is it because of the dress? I pulled her close, breathing in the smell of her strawberry shampoo. Kind of. She was quiet for a moment. Then, I don't want to be Emily. What? I heard you and Daddy talking. I don't want to be Emily. I want to be Madison. I hugged her tighter. You are Madison. You'll always be Madison, and you're exactly who you're supposed to be. Good, she said firmly. Because I like being me. I like you being you too. We sat there for a while, her small body warm against mine. Finally, she asked, Are Grandma and Grandpa mad at you? Yeah, baby. They are. Because you didn't let me wear the dress. Because I stopped trying to be someone I'm not. She thought about this with the seriousness only an 8-year-old could muster. That's a silly thing to be mad about. Yeah, I agreed. It really is. It's been a year now, a full year since I returned that dress and cut those financial ties that had been slowly bleeding me dry. The house in Wheat Ridge went on the market 6 months ago. Emily apparently had convinced them to take out a second mortgage for another business opportunity, this time a food truck that never materialized. Without my monthly contributions, they couldn't keep up with the payments. I heard through the grapevine that they're living in a small apartment now, Emily still with them, still promising that her next idea will be the big one. Still the golden child, even as she drags them further into ruin. I thought I'd feel guilty when I heard. Thought that old familiar weight would settle back on my shoulders, the one that whispered I should help, I should save them, I should be the good daughter. But I didn't. I felt nothing. Or maybe not nothing. Maybe what I felt was free. Madison's thriving. She's in 3rd grade, now loves soccer and art and making friendship bracelets. She's writing a story about a girl who turns into a dragon when she's angry. But a good dragon, she assured me, one that protects people. She doesn't ask about her grandparents anymore. Kids are adaptable like that, they adjust to new realities faster than adults do. Her world is full of people who see her, who call her by her name, who celebrate her for exactly who she is. Last week we were shopping for spring clothes, she's growing like a weed, and we passed a display of Easter dresses. There was one that looked almost exactly like the pink star dress minus the embroidery. Madison glanced at it, then looked up at me. "Too much pink," she declared, and pulled me toward the sports section instead. I laughed, really laughed. My daughter who knows her own mind, who knows her own name, who will never spend a single day wondering if she matters. The other day, I found myself writing in a journal something my therapist suggested. I wrote about boundaries, about choosing yourself, about the difference between family and relatives, about how blood doesn't entitle anyone to drain you dry. But mostly I wrote about Madison, about the way she laughs with her whole body, about how she insists on putting glitter on literally everything, about her stubborn streak and her kind heart and her absolute certainty that she deserves to take up space in this world. I wrote about breaking cycles, about being the mother I needed when I was 6 years old, invisible in a yellow daisy dress, about teaching my daughter that she doesn't have to earn love by being useful. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd kept that dress, if I'd swallowed my anger and let Madison wear it, let my parents play out their fantasy of getting Emily back. But then, I remember that's how it starts, with one small compromise, one moment of choosing their comfort over your truth, one step back into a role you've outgrown. And I know with the same certainty I felt that morning as I canceled those payments that returning that dress saved us both, Madison and me. She'll never be anyone's second chance. She'll never be the understudy to someone else's star. She'll just be Madison, fierce and funny, and entirely herself. And I'll just be her mother. Not the forgotten daughter, or the family ATM, or the one who stayed. Just Sarah finally living a life that fits. The silence from my parents has held. No calls, no letters, no surprise visits. I heard Emily tried to friend me on Facebook under a fake name, but I caught it before accepting. The profile picture was blurry, but I recognized the desperation in the bio full of vague business aspirations and inspirational quotes about fresh starts. I blocked that too, because here's what I've learned: some bridges aren't worth rebuilding. Some patterns aren't worth repeating. Some names aren't worth carrying forward. My daughter's name is Madison. She wears whatever color makes her happy. She is nobody's ghost, nobody's do-over, nobody's second chance. She is exactly who she's supposed to be, and so finally am I.